Okay, I got somebody that's wanting this design right here made into a cut file. It's not, definitely not a very good image for tracing. I mean, honestly, probably be better off to find an actual picture of the car and trace it out. But just for instructional purposes, I'm going to go ahead and trace this out and show you how I would do it. Obviously, an auto trace on this is not going to do worth a crap because the quality is just too crappy. But I'm going to bring this into Inkscape, come over here and pick the Bezier tool. And then you're just going to start going around this design and drop anchor points around the contour of it. I don't worry about getting them too perfect when I'm setting my points. I'm going to come around it, drop anchor points, and then after I've anchored my points everywhere, I'll come back around and adjust these contours to match the outline of the car here. Like I say, this is really, you can hit, if you drop a point too where you don't want it, you can just hit backspace and it'll remove that last point. This is a really horrible quality file or picture for tracing out, but just to give you an idea how to do this with the Bezier tool, I drop my anchors and then I'll come back around and start adjusting these nodes and contours to match the shape of this image. Okay, like I say, this is really bad quality image, so it's not the best example really of how to trace one out, but this is the image that was provided, so I'm gonna do my best here to capture the details. But you're gonna go around here and adjust these. You just click on the lines, drag them. I take you pull your handles around where you want them, then I smooth the nodes, select it, smooth it here, anywhere it's on a curve, and the corners you leave them. But like these are, I think I might already did those, but these are smooth, so smooth those out. This one here has got a little bit of a corner to it, so I leave it. You're gonna come around this, but dude, just follow it around, pull these handles. So once you drag it, then the handles pop out. Then you can move it around, adjust it where you want it. And just keep following this dude around here, adjusting these curves. I try to keep nodes as smooth as possible, where possible. Some spots on the contour you got to have a corner, so you can't always smooth them, but where you can, I like to just keep a nice smooth cut. So I follow it around, smooth these out, adjust these, drag the handles around where you want them. And just keep working your way around it. It seems slow and tedious, but the nice part about doing it this way is you can control the amount of nodes you're putting in there. So when you're done, unlike an auto trace, there's really no cleanup. Once you combine everything, sometimes it'll toss in an extra node or two, so you want to look it over. But essentially, after doing this, when you're done, you're done. It's ready to cut. So while you've got extra time in the trace process, you've saved time in the cleanup process. So there I've got the outside contour pretty much traced out. If I add a fill to it, you can see that's I just outlined the car. I don't want to fill because I'm tracing this, so I'll turn the fill back off. Then, once you've got the outside contour, you start going around the inside. Drop anchor points, trace out these inner details. And I kind of adjust them as I go. You know, rather than come back and have to adjust the contours on 50 different shapes, I just make one, adjust it, get it where I like it, and then move on to the next one. So you're going to work your way around, dropping them. You can also, I don't do it, but you can click and drag and curve them as you go. I don't tend to do that unless it's a shape with a lot of curve to it. Then I'll follow the curves so I don't have to go back, but I just drop my points and come back and adjust them. Like I say, this really is not a good image for an example of how to do this, but you'd be better off to find a actual photo of this car and just recreate this rather than trace whose ever cut this was. But you can do it. I mean, you'd capture a lot more details probably bringing in an original photograph of this car, because here I'm just kind of going off to what the previous person did. How accurate they traced it, I don't know. But so you're gonna go around, drop your nodes in here, and then adjust your contours. Now on this one, I don't really need to. I can see my black stroke pretty well. On some images, depending on the colors, you come over to your fill and stroke menu, go to your stroke paint, and maybe adjust it to something that contrasts a lot better. I'd generally use a red or a green on something that's dark that you have trouble seeing your stroke on. So you just keep working around. They've got a lot of line cuts in this. Nice part about those is, it's just a matter of dropping a few points, and you right click and it'll stop your path, and then you can adjust this one here, make it a curve, smooth it, get it to match the line there. I don't really love line cuts, but sometimes they're necessary when you're doing a really detailed file to catch a few extra details. But that's just going to be an open path. It's just going to cut that line. That'll be it. They're effective, but I don't like them because they show pierce points. But it's definitely one way of doing them. This one here, since they've got a line here and a line here, I'm kind of particular. I want those lines to be perfectly lined up, and even with this one here. So I would click a line here, bring it all the way down here, click, set it, and then I would drag this down to match that contour, or that path that they've made. And then you could just draw 3 separate lines, but the way I do it, because I want to make sure it kind of actually follows like it would the body molding on a car, I'll set it, and then I'll come in and add a node here by double clicking. Double click here, add a node, double click here, add a node, and then double click here and add a node. And then I can select these two, come up here, use this delete segment between the 2 nodes, and get rid of that piece. Same here. Delete that piece. And now I've got those 3 lines in there, and they follow, that's basically one continuous line with breaks in it. But you just keep working your way around with the Bezier tool. Like here, I'd probably do the same thing. Click here and here. And I would drag my handles around to match this line that they had. Get it pretty good here. And then once again, I'd double click here, and then delete the segment between them. Now that door line follows it. And this, you know, these line drawings are pretty easy to lay out. Like I say, only downside is pierce points, but sometimes it's necessary, especially if you were cutting this really small. You know, you can squeeze in a lot of line cuts on a small piece. So I'm just going to follow this around here. This one here I would go ahead and curve, that way I don't have to mess with it. Same with this hood line. You're going to follow it around. Give it a little curve. Here it's kind of hard to even see, but I drop a line here, and I would probably bring it here, drop it there. This one, give it a little curve. This is basically how you go around and manually trace out the design. Bezier tool, it's like I say, it takes, you know, obviously it's takes a lot longer. Good grief, I can't grab my line there. It obviously takes a lot longer than an auto trace would. Here I'd probably shorten that up here, delete that one. It takes a lot longer than an auto trace, but like I say, once I'm done, it's done. There's no real cleanup to be done here. Looks like they broke it there, and then they broke it here. It's hard to even see what they originally done with it, but on a rounded corner like that, I'd drop a node in each side of the corner, and then come in and grab here between the two and pull it out, highlight them, smooth them. Same here, highlight them, smooth them. That's got nice rounded corners to it. And you just work your way around the drawing using your Bezier tool. Anywhere you want to stop, you just right click and it'll terminate it. You just keep working around, tracing this out one line at a time. Like I say, it's a tedious process, but it really gives you a lot more possibilities than an auto trace. This is, you know, you get a photograph you want to trace or whatever the auto trace won't work on. This is gonna be your go-to for lining out a drawing. So you just work your way around this dude, draw out your details and your features one at a time, and before you know it, you'll have your file made. It's got a little curve to it. Like I say, this is, if I were gonna make a file for a Camaro, I would probably hunt down a good picture where everything's a lot clearer, and I could get a lot better quality design out of it. But this was the picture provided, and I just wanted to show, you know, how I would go about using this if this is what I had to work with. So smooth those out, smooth those out. Got a little bit over here. This is very hard to see, but you know, as you can see, this drawing would basically be impossible to do with the trace bitmap. because it's so messy and you can't see any real details. It's hard for me to do it manually and get the details, so there's no way an auto trace is going to work here. But you're going to go around, and, you know, as you can see, I'll stop for a second, delete. I'm working my way around, and there's a Camaro coming to life there. So Control Z, bring my picture back up, and just keep working your way around this dude, lining out the details. And before you know it, we're going to have a Camaro here. Here, I'd probably just draw a little rectangle. Drag it down. Grab this little, use your node editor, grab this little circle and just round the corners just a hair. And then just add that in there. That'll be good enough. So then I'll just keep working my way around this. A curve like this, you probably just get away with the 2 end points. Worst case, you might have to add 1 node up here in the top to get the right shape, but it looks like it's going to cooperate. So, because the goal, you know, you want the least amount of nodes possible to pull this design off. That's going to give your torch a lot smoother cut. This one, I'd say I need that 3rd node to make that arch. Smooth them and adjust it. And I just keep working my way around it. Like I say, there's no quick way of doing this, but when I'm done, I'll have a cut file that doesn't need any cleanup. Worst case, you know, depending on the cut size, you'll have to go back over it and check your spacing maybe, but all in all, you'll have I'll add a note here by double clicking. You'll have a nice clean cut file that's ready to go. Pull it right there to get that handle out. This is really good too. I mean, something like this, like I say, this drawing is horrible quality, or picture, not drawing, but you know, you just take any picture and just practice going around it, dropping lines and adjusting contours, and you can pretty well trace out anything with the Bezier tool. I mean, if you can see it, you can trace it. So it's a great tool. It's not, you know, there's no easy button. You gotta put in the work, go around tracing it out and adjusting things. But once you're done, you get the ability to trace out and create anything with the Bezier tool. There's some good videos too if you check out other channels like Logos by Nick. He's got a few good videos on the Bezier tool. They're not really CNC related, but I'll Control D. I'll just reuse that shape. But he's got some good videos on Bezier tool and functions, and I'll actually hit Control Z. Let's see. Control D. Control D duplicates whatever you've got selected. So like for this, I mean, if I were actually tracing the car out, those shapes would probably change a little bit based on the perspective and the angle, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to duplicate and move them around to save a little time here. And you could, you know, those shapes are the same basically. You can see the perspective changes a little based on the way the car's angled, but you can always adjust these. Easier than redrawing them. I don't know why Inkscape likes to do that, but see, it created a double node there. If you just select them and highlight over till one turns red, it did it over here too. Turn it red and hit Shift J, and that'll take that back to one node. It done it on all these. Shift J. Highlight, Shift J. But you're going to work your way around this design. If you hit draw a circle, hold Control, and then draw it out, that'll keep it symmetrical. Which, like I say, once again, this isn't the greatest picture. That circle probably would actually be more oval based on the perspective, but for this, I'm just dropping a circle in there so you get the idea. Then just continue working my way around, and believe it or not, we're getting pretty close to having this. And smooth those out. That handle's a little skewed. You know, you want to go back over it just real quick when you're done. Make minor adjustments, but like I say, for the purpose of this video, I'm just trying not to waste too much of your time, basically, and give you the basic idea how you go around and trace this dude out. That way you can pretty well take any picture you run across. I'll drop a node there, drop a node there, break that in between. That's a nice contour. But you can take any photo picture you run across and make a file with it if you want to. I mean, as you can see, this picture is just absolutely horrible quality, and you're still able to, you know, make it work and do something with it. So that just shows you what you can do with the Bezier. So I just go around. I mean, I've almost got this. Oops, I accidentally hit the. So you're just dropping these lines, then you go to your node editor, adjust your contours, and just work your way around and get this dude traced out. So I've almost got it. These are back here. Depending on your size, I don't know how well this back here would cut, but it's hard to even see those shapes. I'm just going to draw some triangles here just for the purpose of finishing this up. But let's see, you got 5 there. I don't know why that almost looks like another spoke, but I'll go back in and fix these later, but I just wanted to finish this up just so you get an idea of, you know, how to do this. This I'll probably do a closed shape. My mouse isn't cooperating with me too great today, but you get the idea. Go around, trace it all out. And as you'll see here in a minute, we've actually got something we could cut if we wanted to. And like I say, this is just for example, because this is the picture that was posted and the person was wanting done, I would definitely just find a new picture of a Camaro and trace the actual car out if I were wanting to do this and be great with it. But you go around and do that. It looks like they had one little other detail here. Just click there. Bend that for the other headlight. Wow. Anyway, you work your way around it, trace it out. And there, as you can see, I took that disgusting quality photo and made a cut file. I'd need to go back over this, make some adjustments, and clean it up just a hair, but that's how you take the Bezier tool and go around and trace an image out and make a cut file with it. And like I say, you practice with this Bezier tool, and there is basically nothing you can't trace out and make a cut file out of. You know, some be a lot easier than others. As you can see, this was a horrible quality picture, but the Bezier tool basically enables you to trace anything you want and make it work. Okay, the last step you're going to want to do here. Now, I've got this traced out. You know, I can send this to the cutter. It needs a little adjustment. Like I say, that I kind of zoomed through the rim back there just to make it look decent. But the last step you're going to want to do, as you can see, if I drag a box around here, I've got 63 different objects. Well, I don't want to send that like that to the cutter. So I just hit Control K, and now that is one path, 247 nodes, ready to go. You know, you do your final little edits, save it, send it to SheetCam or whatever post-processor you're using, then you're good to go. Now you don't, I'm going to hit Control Z here. You don't want to, because I used open lines here, you don't want to you don't want to union these, basically. What I would do on a normal drawing, I would select all of it. I would hold Shift, deselect the outside, and I would hit Shift Control Plus to combine all my inner contours and then difference those. But as you can see, because I used open lines on this trace, it just makes an absolute mess. So Control Z on one like this where you've used open lines, you're going to select it all, Control K, and now it's combined. It's all one path. You know, it's good to go. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you pick something up, learn something. Hope it helps somebody.